Welcome to Girl, Come Sit With Me. Today we have a special episode coming in. I am your host, Dom. Not only am I the host, I'm also a psychology professor and a host of other cool things. June is Men's Health Month, and I am honored to have just a sprinkle of a couple of guys to pop up on here for this month for Girl, Come Sit With Me, okay? So today we have Munch. Now, Munch is special for a multitude of things. Munch is one of those people where he is just naturally in the cut. And not just in the cut and not doing anything. He will be in the cut directing everything that's going on, and you will have no idea. He's thinking about our rights and not just as far as just the basic stuff like, oh, is everybody good? No, what's going to help our people? And this is how his brain naturally works. That is the part that gets me. So y'all, warm welcome to Girl, Come Sit With Me. Hey, Munch.
What up? I was gonna say some Detroit shit. Like, what up, though?
Hey, do you know I love people from Detroit?
They're my favorite type of people, man. They cool. They really cool.
They be so cool with it. Like, even they swag. But now, yeah. You already knew I was gonna say it. I was trying not to be that person.
City boys up.
But yeah, you already know how it goes, okay? So I wanted to jump right into it. Now, remember when I told y'all Munch be in the cut and he's that cool guy? If any of you have ever seen the episode of Powerpuff Girls back in the day, they used to have an episode, a villain, and his name was Him. The man didn't have a name. They just called him Him. We only saw from here down of his face, but he was just pulling strings and connecting dots. So I'm trying to figure out what in the world got you to be such a...
Girl, come sit with me. Let's talk about love and identity. We've been breaking chains, healing from pain, laughing through storms and dancing in
voice for where people will listen. Sorry, and to put some respect on his name, he is for the Miami Dade chapter of the NAACP. He is
the young adults chair,
community chair.
Yeah, I was the team captain most of the time on those teams, you know what I'm saying, and whatnot. And then from there, other roles that I had was I was, at the Coach Art Center in the band, you know what I mean? So,
oh, what you did in the band?
I used to play trumpet in the band.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
So, like, you become, we do this little battle thing. You become first chair, second chair,
Mm-hmm.
type of stuff. So, like, but yeah, I think it came from, just playing ball and just being the leader, like people used to listen to. I used to put my work in, so people would just naturally listen to what I had to say, because it was like, well, he the first in sprints. We see him working hard.
Okay.
So, like, you know what I mean? We'll listen to him before we listen to this guy over here, you know what I'm saying, who bucking to work out, different things like that.
That part.
And then there was this one moment in high school where the coaches didn't show up. Well, they were late to practice, coming to practice, and did the usual, because I guess they had a meeting or something was going on, because, coaches are
they're busy.
Teachers, I guess they had a meeting after school, and they couldn't be to us on time. This was when I was playing JV at Central, and I was like, we're gonna have practice. Everybody wanted to go home. They was like 15 minutes, coach ain't here, man. We finna clear it, man. We ain't having practice today. And it was just one of those things like, no, we haven't practice.
Mm-hmm.
And, everybody that was around me, I was like, we're going to line up, we're going to have practice. And
that's real.
And so everybody, it was one of those things, like, everybody just followed behind, It was just weird, you know what I'm saying? Like, or take you back before that. So we was in practice one day, and one guy was bucking, and he was the reason we had to do like 1,000 push-ups that day.
Wait, what?
Yeah, it was this one dude. We cool now.
Okay.
He was the reason, like, he was kind of like not doing what he was supposed to do. So he was the reason we kept having to do, like, we had like a set, like, you know how it is. We did almost 1,000 push-ups that day because he was the reason. He didn't go full extension on one push-up or two push-ups, and coach kept seeing it. So he's like, we're gonna do some more because of this guy. And I remember walking out of there, and I was like, and I'm like a small guy at the time. I'm like $150.
Oh,
I probably wasn't even that. You know what I'm saying? And the dude was like 6'2", like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, like 200-something pounds. And I was like, hey, man. And I walked out, And I was like, next time if he come in his locker room, we got to do these push-ups. Hey, y'all some suckers. We gotta split him or something. Like, get him in
Something
line.
gonna have to give.
So I walked out. Of course, it was an issue because unbeknownst to me, he was related to some guys that was in there that wanted to take up for him. It was just me and my childhood friend, you know what I'm saying? My day one with me. And I walked back up in there and I was like, look, y'all heard what I said? Like, we all had to do 1,000 push-ups. And your cousin is the reason we had to do it. So either respect it or check it. Like, we can fade about it, but that ain't going to change what I said.
Yes.
Yeah. And I was like, I meant what I said. And, you know, people who know me know, like, he crazy. He go back down. So, you know, it started there. And then it led up to that day we had that practice. That was like later on, like in the beginning of the season, before the season started. Mm-hmm. And they ended up making me team captain. You know what I'm saying? After that situation when we had practice. So ever since then, I knew I had some type of leadership skill, some type of skill to kind of like move people, you know what I'm saying, to an extent. But I never like really took advantage of it or you know, I always took it serious. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I didn't kind of like use my power to my advantage or anything like that. And it just translated, you know, whether it was me going to college, I was like the quote unquote RA.
Okay, you know what I mean? Okay.
So, because we really didn't have like dorms or anything, but I worked out a situation with these with this management company or this apartment complex that was foreclosing to give us rates at the price floor. And we moved all the Florida cats that was coming in town.
Yeah.
So I just worked like little different stuff. It's like, I know a whole influx of Florida guys gonna come, like maybe 10 to 20 each year. So I was like, nah, we're gonna be in an apartment. And I pretty much just ran that whole thing. You know what I'm saying? And people just trusted and respected it. And when I came home, the same situation. I said my piece on certain things that I said came true. It was like, we just go listen to them. And it just one thing led to another. You know, people never know me for being flawed. They always say, you know, Munch always been solid. He never did no flaw shit. So, you know, and like I said, I just never took advantage of it. I always took it serious. Like, you know what I'm saying? Your word is everything. You know? Mm-hmm. So that's pretty much, I guess, for me, where I think it came from. You know?
So for people who are trying to, especially for men, men are naturally put in leadership roles. Mm-hmm. And men are naturally looked at as someone who's supposed to lead, whether mm-hmm. it's a small group of people, whether it's simply their family, things like that. So would you say leadership and initiative goes hand in hand? Because in all those stories, it sounded like you took initiative.
Yeah. Part of it is initiative, but part of it is like to me, is like, especially in the city. Mm-hmm. You know, growing up in Liberty City, man, you had to earn your stripes. You know what I'm saying? And me being like, what I like to joke about and say, I'm a first generation city boy because my mom from Pensacola, my dad from Jacksonville. So, and I'm first generation. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I had to earn it, like my name, my last name, everything. Had to earn respect for it. It was like
that had to be a lot.
Yeah, especially when folks got 10 cousins and mm-hmm. all their siblings. I tell you, it's me. There ain't nothing coming behind me but me. So anything I say, I had to back up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I had to stand on, for lack of a better term. You know what I'm saying? So it was like, it wasn't necessarily always about a fight. A lot of times it was like, nah, we're going to talk this out. You know, mm-hmm. and that was what was different. You know, so it is initiative. I learned respect from other men early. You know what I'm saying? And you didn't mm-hmm. always have to fight to get that. And so I never really had to get in tussles a lot just to earn that respect. I said what I said. You can respectfully disagree, but I said what I said.
I said what I said.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay, so I am the mother of 2 boys. You already met one. And it's interesting because I understand that as a single woman, there's only so much I can do with raising my boys. I can teach them to be the men that I admire and to have certain skills or just be an overall great person. But I try to align it where they have men in their lives that they get to see who are active, who show them like, hey, they can teach them certain things that I would not look at or I may view differently as a woman, where a man may not be able to get away with certain things that a woman would be able to. Would there be anything you would suggest to me? And this is just me really wanting to know, like, I know, but as a man, what do you think helps you, or what are factors that your mom, or variables or things that had to do with, how do I word this question? What are some things that your mom gave you, or tools that your mother gave you to help you be the man you are today?
My mom.
Your mom specifically. Because I really want to make sure that I'm giving my kids the tools.
I wouldn't even say my mom. I would go a step further, probably say my grandmother. Because early on, my grandmother, I was around her a lot. You know, she had a big influence on me. And so she would always say, like, do your best. That was her biggest thing. Do your best. And give your best effort. You know what I mean? And so
I like that.
That was the main thing that stuck with me, like, from the kid, like, you know what I'm saying? She died real early when I was like 8. But that was one thing that always stuck with me. You know, with my mother, it was always like, and with young boys, what people discount is it's not so much what y'all tell us, is what we see. So I saw my mom get up every day and work. You know what I'm saying? I didn't see her complain. I ain't see her, you know what I'm saying, curse nobody, you know, stuff like that. Like, you know, I ain't see that. You know, she ain't talk bad about my old boy, and none of that crazy. You know what I'm saying? So I never really saw that, you know, growing up. And that's what I can say, at least about my mom. I'm saying, like, always held it down. Like, as much as, you know, we like to think that, you know, the men was holding it down and they was doing all this protecting and providing back in the day. It was like, a lot of women was the breadwinner kid. Like, they just ain't boast about it. You know what I'm saying? When you really think about it in context. So, like, my mom, she just always, like, held it down, and she didn't really complain about it. So if it wasn't so much about what she taught, what she taught us, you know, if anything, it was like, always be truthful. You know what I'm saying? Do your best, you know, same thing my grandma said. But it was more like what I saw.
What you saw.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that goes for like me growing up. My parents didn't give me a lot of verbal guidance. It was always like, okay, go to school, you know what I'm saying, do the best you can, you know what I'm saying, hard work pays, all those type of cliche things. The rest of it for men is like observing, trial and error. So you're gonna hit some bumps in the road, but it's what you're willing to do, what you're not willing to do. Like, I never was willing to really get in the street because I saw what can happen. What can happen. You know, I had different experiences that kind of, like, you know, hang around certain people. And, you know, God bless. Like, I was just like, they would get me. Like, I done had, you know, the dope boy in the neighborhood come get me. Like, hey, I don't care about what else going on over here. Hey, he got to get up out of here. You know what I'm saying? I want to sit there in the paint with my dogs, and they like, hey, he got to go.
He got to go.
So, you know, it was just observation. You know what I'm saying? I just had to learn. Like, no, that ain't the situation I want to be in.
I like that. I was listening to something, and they were saying how. Where was I? It was at Calvin's one-man show.
I didn't get a chance to go. I was working that night.
And that was it was incredible. No.
Yeah, that's my little brother's birthday.
It was incredible. Incredible. So one of the things that he said, and it made me think about it, men aren't taught to be men when we really look at it. Sometimes they get to a certain age, and it's just like, all right, you're 18. You're a man now. Go on out there. Or, you graduated high school. You're a man now. This is what you aren't really taught it. But
yeah, you're
never
really
dawned on me.
You ain't really taught it. Like, I can say, you know, my dad spoke in riddles. I tell people that all the time. He spoke in riddles. He didn't really directly say things. You know what I'm saying? He didn't directly tell us about the life he lived so much. He got in some trouble early on. You know what I'm saying? So, but he always instilled, like, various, I would say, values. You know what I'm saying? But he didn't. The choice was yours ultimately. And like I say, I tell people all the time, I learned how to be a man from watching other men that I admire and respect. And I think that's what happened with a lot of other guys who was just a different other space. We see guys in the street that we admired and respected, who took the time to kind of nurture us along a little bit. You get what I'm saying?
Put that work in.
Yeah. So, like, you know, when your old boy ain't talking to you because he probably working all day, and when you get off, he tired too. You know what I'm saying? Who the guys that's outside got time in their hands to really tell you, hey, don't do this.
Like, don't do
that.
that.
Don't do, you know what I'm saying? So, like, it wasn't just, like, I could say in my particular situation, you know, growing up in the different spaces that I was in, you know, whether it was academic or, you know, extracurricular, or, you know, just at home. I had my old boy at home. Don't get me wrong. I had, you know, family members, you know what I'm saying, that they did things, and then I had the community, right? Like growing up at the Coach Art Center under Marshall Davis, he wore a suit every day. Bernard Coast.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Some of my teachers, Nana Blackman, Bayunga, I can't never say his first name. It's like Kalayuka or something like that. Bayunga, but who else? And then Darren Ferguson, who sold T-shirts and stuff like that. The Chocolate City, if you know, any Miami history, sold all the shirts, anything. That was all Darren Ferguson. So, like, I grew up around. Then you go to Liberty City Optimist. You talk about Sam Johnson.
Everybody knows Sam Johnson.
You know what I'm saying?
That's true.
You go Sam. You go a lot of my coaches, Coach Pete, Coach Darryl, Coach Mike. You know what I'm saying? I had Coach Ice early. I had Coach Hope. I had Dr. Gallen around me early. You know what I'm saying? I grew up with his son. You know what I'm saying? So it's like when you got these guys around you at an early age, you knew what, you know, Dr. Gallen was the youngest principal. Yeah, I think at that time in the history of Miami-Dade County Public Schools, this was the dude that failure wasn't an option. So when you grow, like, I'm running track, and Gallen's son is with us, you know what I'm saying? And he's there with us and giving us speeches and telling us failure not an option. So that went around, that permeated the entire community. That didn't just hit Northwestern at that time. You feel me? Most people think, like, well, it just no, it wasn't just at Northwestern.
No, it's beyond the West.
It was beyond the West. It hit the whole city. Failure is not an option. So when you had those type of people, like I say, Davis, you know, he wasn't a guy that was going to get loud and argue if something. Quiet, he gonna look at you. He gonna hate. I never seen this man really raise his voice. You feel me? I seen Sam Johnson. I seen everybody, like, Sam take care of everybody. So when you say, how did you get to it? I watched Sam run a whole park.
I was about to say, do it.
I seen him do it. You know what I'm saying? I seen Arthur Till, who passed away, you know, they say he did some stuff. I still don't release the tapes, Miami Herald. But, you know, you got Commissioner Arthur Till, you know what I'm saying, that I saw growing up. You know what I mean? And, you know, like I said, Coach Darryl, you know what I'm saying? Coach Darryl was a big influence. You got my cousin, Daryl Sharpton, you know what I'm saying, who's the, you know, chairman, at one point was the chairman of Jackson Memorial Foundation, I think, in health systems, something like that. And he also was in charge of Sharpton and Brunson Accounting. So that was like one of my first coaches. And he told me, just because you family don't mean I won't cut you.
Hey, like, that's real. I appreciate that.
So it was, and he was like the first, like, he was the one that the first, I could say, Coach Sharpton, cousin Daryl Sharpton was the first one to give me, like, notes on how to be a man. Outside of my own father, he was the first one to, like, help and coach me along, nurture me along, mentor me.
That's real. So it's about those that are around you. And that's true. Because the same thing goes for myself and a lot of people. It's about the examples that we see around us. And it makes it easier for us to be an example for others, even when we don't peep that we're an example for others.
Yeah. I mean, even when I got older, you know, I went through some things. And it was people like, I say this loud and clear, Paul Lewis. I don't know if many people know him. He used to be in KC and the Sunshine Band when he was like 16 years old. Yeah. So when I was doing a lot of different shows, man, Paul Lewis, like, when you talk about a businessman who had multiple businesses, he took care of everybody, you know, and did right by everybody business-wise. And that was one of the things I always wanted to do. Like, you know, you get in business sometimes, things happen. Yes. But he always showed me how to, like, all right, if things happen, explain it, communicate, and right the wrong. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he'll hound you about getting paid. Like, he'll have a check for you. He'll be like, look, man, I got this check for you. Now, most people, they just going to be like, well, I got a check. You ain't answer. Yeah, it is what it is. He going to run you down about it. You know what I'm saying? And he just wanted to do right by people. You know what I'm saying? And that's, you know, everybody in a world where everybody ain't like that, that was something I picked up. And I was like, nah.
That's real. And self-accountability is difficult for especially if you aren't trained to be introspective.
Yeah.
That self accountability and that self awareness, man, I think it's something that can be taught, but it's easier when you've seen examples.
That and people scared to look in the mirror, man. Like many times throughout my life, man, I had to look in the mirror. There's many times that I didn't want to look in that mirror, to be honest with you. Like, and I mean that figuratively and like literally. Like it. I went through a period, of, especially at like my 20s. I couldn't look at myself in the mirror. Like head down, brush my teeth, type shit. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like and when I started to be able to pick your head up, look yourself, and say, "Hey, this is where we at." Now, if you want to go somewhere else, you gotta look yourself in the mirror and get there.
Yeah.
And like you say, self accountability. It was hard, but it was like necessary. Even to the point where I'm at now, it was necessary. Everybody ain't built that way though. Like some people just want to blame everybody else, you know. But you can't grow, you can't progress if you keep, you know what I'm saying, keep blaming everybody else, you know. And I'm one of the people always been like, what am I doing wrong? You know what I'm saying?
That's me all day. What could I have done differently in this situation? Or how could I have avoided this? Or even, how do I make sure that this doesn't happen again? What are the signs before whoop woo happened for me to really be able to hone in and say, okay, that was a sign right there. Okay, this was another sign. So that way when it happens again, I know I don't want to go down that path. I was not feeling my reactions, or I knew I wanted to change this. So moving forward, it makes a difference.
My girl always says, she's like, "You're always so considerate." Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, I don't.
I can see that though. I can see that.
But I literally like, and she right to an extent. I'm always like considerate of everybody in their
and
situation.
Patient.
You know what I'm saying? And I try to be. But to be honest, in the last community and having to hear these issues that people deal with, right? You have to have a heart of empathy, empathize with them, not have sympathy for them, but have empathy for them, and like know, like, okay, this person might have had, like, based on the time that they grew up, like black men that grew up during the 80s in Miami-Dade County, like McDuffie,
that's
crack, you know,
everything,
like,
right?
Like when you factor all that, and you wonder why they all hate the police the way they do, like, you feel me? So they grew up in the era where police been killing black men. You know, Overtown, Liberty City.
They lived through that riot.
They lived through the riot. Not only the riots, and people don't realize that the riots, you know, sidebar, but the riots happened from the 1980 was the first one, the big one that everybody remembers.
That's the one that I know about.
Yeah, McDuffie, right? But people don't realize that we rioted almost all the way through from 1980 to like 89. You feel me? They had 85 at least, because they had we had the Quiet Riot, which H.T. Smith and a lot of others, the black professionals, pioneered later, which was like 89. I think it lasted from 89 to 92. But from 80 to like 85, the National Guard was here, was called down to monitor the streets.
I know they were called down, but I didn't know they stayed here that long.
They stayed here that long. Yeah.
That's insane.
And people don't, because after the McDuffie, it was multiple riots because things kept happening. You know what I'm saying? Black men kept getting killed, you know. Don't quote me on it, but I know Nathaniel LaFleur, I think that was before McDuffie. Neville Johnson was after McDuffie, and that happened in Overtown.
Yeah, I know it happened in Overtown.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Clement Lloyd, who I went to school with his son, high school with his son, that was in 89. And they was ready to tear shit up then. You know what I'm saying? You know, when you think about black men from that side, that's been their disposition. So when I'm in the line, when I call it line, I mean that
I know pantry, what you mean.
Right at the food pantry. I'm just saying for the people here. But at the food pantry, I'm in the line, and I wonder, like, and I hear these black men and they anger and they frustration, and then when they tell me when they was born, because I got to take their name and birthday just so we can have some data on them. And I'm like, oh, that's their era. You know what I'm saying? That's their disposition.
Wow. And can you tell them where the pantry is, please?
The pantry's on 43rd Street and 12th Avenue, 4300 Northwest 12th Avenue, behind the church. I think it's called New Covenant Presbyterian. We right there in the parking lot.
And then how often do y'all do that?
We feed people Monday through Saturday, 6 days a week. We got a 3-tier bag system, so you can, if you on the street, or you just want a bag for lunch, you can get a sandwich bag. If you want, if you're in a room or apartment, and you don't necessarily cook or want to cook like that, hey, we got a microwave bag that comes with a microwave meal and the stuff that's in the sandwich bag. And then Thursdays and Saturdays we do a grocery bag or food to cook at home, which is Thursdays and Saturdays. So we have meat, we have vegetables, a little bit of everything in there, so you can cook your own meal. You know what I'm saying? Or multiple meals. You know what I'm saying? Depending on what we got available. But it was
that's incredible.
And Village Fridge was started by a black woman. I gotta say that, Sharina Jones. So.
By Sharina Jones.
Sharina Jones. Yeah.
Okay.
She started that in the middle of the pandemic. You know what I'm saying, to combat food insecurity.
And it's still going.
And it's still going.
Yeah. The pandemic was years ago.
Yeah.
4 or 5 years ago. Exactly. 5 years now.
Yeah, exactly.
That's incredible. Wait, you said you went to school with whose son?
Clement Lloyd. Clement Lloyd was a dude that got killed by the police. Yeah, I think it was in Overtown, if I'm not mistaken.
So sometimes we can hear these names, and I tell my psychology students this as well. We'll learn about people, we'll hear their names, we'll read their stories, but it's different when you're able to humanize them and not just make it as something that you're reading in a textbook or something that you're able to just do a quick Google search on. Think about it. You saying that you went to school with his son just humanized him that much more to remind people, like, oh yeah, okay, they say he's a dad, but no, someone knows their children. Someone had to be there for their children at that time.
And it was crazy. I heard him talking in class one day because I didn't know about the situation, to be honest with you. And I heard him talking in class one day. I think later on is when, I think maybe like a year later, maybe 2 years later, I ran across like something talking about it. I was talking about it in class. And I remember reaching out to him on social media, like, yeah, man, I just heard about your people. Because, like, I heard the story, like, his dad wasn't there. Like, he said it in class, but it don't necessarily dawn on you.
It doesn't register
sometimes. Because, like, he was in class, like, people was talking about how he had money or he came from money because of the lawsuit that resulted, that came after his father's, demise or death or whatever. So it was like they got some money or whatever, but it was like that man lost a whole father.
That's the money. The money does not replace the person. And that's the part people forget with these lawsuits. The money does not replace the person.
Yeah.
I get it. I give anything in the world. I ain't even finna hold you to hug my daddy again. Like.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy. I had a cousin, you know what I'm saying, Greg, in Fort Pierce. Got killed.
That's my dad's name. That's crazy.
He got killed by the police in Fort Pierce. And they gave that, I don't know if you heard the story, when they gave the family, the settlement was for $1.
Wait, what?
Yeah, Fort Pierce. Yeah. Greg, my cousin Greg.
$1.
$1. Yeah, the city of Fort Pierce settled and gave the family $1. Yeah. And I just think about his daughter. He was literally waiting for his daughter to get out of school, which was right down the street. And he was playing some music loud. The neighborhood was getting gentrified. And the neighbor called the police saying that another neighbor was playing some loud music. They pulled up to the house. He basically closed his garage door. You feel me? And they shot at the door once he started closing it. In his house now. He did nothing.
That's what I'm saying. The closing, you got to be inside.
Yeah, he closed it, and they shot into the garage, and he bled out.
That's insane.
So, yeah, I've probably seen a picture, but I just went by the house like maybe earlier this year, February, I think. No, it wasn't February. Was it? Yeah, it was February because me and my girl went to Epcot. Yeah, so it's February weekend, like Valentine's Day weekend. I went by the house, and the bullet hole stood there. It was like 3 or 4 bullet holes. That was my first time going by there
since
that whole situation happened. I didn't go to the funeral or nothing. Yeah, and that I just think about his daughter all the time. You know what I'm saying? Like her coming home, like she just thought she was gonna come home. House, of course they got the mind you, they didn't go in there. He bled out, so that means it was a crime scene. They know they shot. They didn't even think that he was in there. They just thought it was a standoff. They had helicopters, SWAT, everybody. They found him dead in there. It was a bad time. Like, it's just crazy. I just think about daughter getting off school just like she normally do. House right there, thinking I'm just gonna go to the house. Then you see, you know what I'm saying? That changed. That probably changed her life forever. That
changes people.
Changes. It even changed my growing up around police and everything we was fighting at that time. I was in community, around the Trayvon Martin situation. And
me too.
I think that was around that, not around that time. That was like a few years after. And yeah, that was a crazy time.
Yeah, it really was. I remember I was still going to UCF undergrad with the Trayvon Martin situation. So the Black student body convinced UCF to basically charter buses for us to go from Orlando to there. So we went there. You see Nation of Islam, like everybody's out there, and we're marching. But you think about it, you drive where we were, we had to drive right by where it happened. And none of us even knew him. I knew, his family. I knew his mom was from Miami, things like that. But none of us even knew him personally. You can just feel the heaviness of it all and how it impacts everybody. Just how you said earlier, there's this positive impact going on where the men will, just with the men being around you, and how that's a beautiful impact on you, and how that had a positive impact on you and your upbringing and you becoming a man. So that goes to show how impact works.
Yeah.
It can be positive or it can be negative.
Yeah. I was unemployed when Trayvon, that whole trial. Me and once the trial hit, it was like, no, we got to do something. If like most days I'm in a hoodie and shades. You know what I'm saying? I think the first time you met me, I was in a hoodie.
You was in a hoodie.
You know what I'm saying?
And shades.
And shades. Trayvon actually, like I had a business partner in Miami Gardens, and Trayvon used to be over there. And when I seen this picture flash, that's what made me be like, I had to hit my business partner. Like, yo, ain't this such and such they used to be over there by your old boy crib? And he was like, yeah. Fool was like 2 block things to come over there, play basketball, football. And it hit me like, because so many times throughout, as a black man, you judge for any and everything.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? I grew up in a whole bunch of academic spaces, because I was quote unquote smart. You know what I'm saying? But they want to change everything about you to conform to their way. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And it's hard trying to navigate that. And I was having a conversation out there with them about that. Like, as a black man, I just wanted to be me. There's no pun intended to be me, the organization who I'm a part of. I just wanted to be me. Like I wanted people to see me for me.
That part.
Yeah, I'm from the hood, you know what I'm saying? I ain't no street nigga, but I come from a certain place. I represent and but I'm smart too. Don't look at me as less than because where we came from or whatever. And I always had that with me. Sometimes people say you need to let that go. They want you to dress a certain way, tuck your shirt in. I'm like, that's not me.
That is so true.
And,
oh my goodness.
And that was a struggle for the longest.
Because they want you to code switch. That's what it is.
Yeah.
They want you to code switch.
Learn how to code switch. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, I'm not switching. Because I was like, if Donald Trump wasn't a thing at the time, and I forget what crap that was out there like that. But it was like, they ain't got to do it. They can dress just like us, do what we do. And they can get away with it. Like, that's them. They can get away with it. You can't. And that just be their defense. And I'm like, why? Why we got to conform? Why they can't see us for us? They never going to respect us. My whole perspective was they never going to respect us for being us if we always got a code switch or show some different side of ourselves. You know what I'm saying?
You just made me think of something. So you see how other cultures are able to mock us in a sense? Mm-hmm. Or it's popularized when they
do it.
When they imitate us or emulate us or try to duplicate us. But think about it. They get to take it off anytime it gets too rough, anything like that. Mm-hmm. But in order for us to assimilate, in order for us to make it to certain places, like we have to code switch. But in a sense, when we code switch, we're also teaching them that we can take it on and off. I can turn it on and off. But no, this is who I am. I'm proud of who I am. I'm proud of my lineage. I'm proud of who I am becoming because I'm still a work in progress. Mm-hmm. Why can't I just be me?
Yeah, and I struggled with that so much. I struggled with that because I got left out of life. It was crazy. I was in a pre-college program. I ain't gonna name the name because I ain't gonna be messy. And I remember it was so much like it was, so many different things that I didn't do or I wanted to do, but because who I was, I was the cool kid in that space because it was like,
I can see that. I can see that.
And I played ball, and I also had a certain GPA, so I still qualified. But it was just like they just picked on me. You know what I'm saying? Like the adults in the situation, instead of nurturing who I was, they wanted me to conform to something I wasn't. And growing up, trying to navigate life, especially like trying to grow up and stuff like that, you start thinking like, dang, all right, when it ain't working, when certain things ain't working for you, you start to believe like maybe I should clean up, do this, do that.
And that identity shift.
Yeah. And I was like, nah, I can't do that. You know what I'm saying? Like when I left and went to Arizona, it was like these people ain't. They love me for me, and I'm with white folks all day. Y'all the ones be switching. They don't respect like I was in their space for the first time, and I started to realize like, but they don't respect when y'all niggas code switch anyway. But y'all think that that's what they like, but they can see straight through that. Like they, you know what I'm saying? Why you just be yourself? They respect it because you yourself. Like they knew like, all right, Munch gonna be Munch. Like
it is what it is,
and we got to see him for him. Like you never gonna break down a stereotype, and that's why I wear my hoodie and my shades all the time. You never gonna break down a stereotype like of a black man in a hoodie if y'all niggas never in hoodies in 100-degree weather. Like we look at the kids, we automatically assume that all the kids wearing hoodies and hiding their face is some shooters. Well, what if all them same kids in hoodies is depressed? That's why they hide.
They just don't want anybody to see them.
They don't want nobody to see.
And that's a whole nother conversation right there. When you really look at it.
But how many of our own people judge them kids wearing hoodies in 100-degree weather? That ain't no coincidence. It's more like a phenomenon when you really think about it, because how could every black kid, well, not every black kid, but a good majority of the black men, right, wearing hoodies, and we in South Florida, it's 80 degrees on
it's hot.
Plus, on the regular.
It's hot.
It's hot. It's humid on the regular, and you in a hoodie on the regular. Yeah, they go to school in the classroom cold, but come on, dog.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I talked to a lot of youth. Them kids be depressed. Social media is a mug. You know what I'm saying?
It is.
So that's a lot of pressure that we ain't have to deal with. You know what I'm saying? So they don't want to be seen because they don't want to get picked on. They don't want people
because they don't have this. They don't have that.
You feel me?
But social media is just a false alarm. And it's easy for us to say when it comes to social media, like, oh yeah, that's just people's highlight reel. That's all we see. But if that's all you have to compare yourself to.
Exactly. You feel like you got to be just like that.
You feel like now there's pressure because now I'm a teenager, I'm making minimum wage, whatever minimum wage is in Florida. And they have another friend who's like, hey, I just made $300 today in one day. And the other kid's like, well, I work minimum wage. That's about 70, 80. I don't know what minimum wage is.
But that's dollars. That's why the majority of these kids go the route that they go. And you wonder why they go into the street. Why they crashing out the way they crashing out.
But it sounds like we have to start helping the youth understand, one, how not to give into pressure, but two, how to handle when you're feeling that pressure. Because sometimes they'll do a permanent solution for a temporary problem.
And rationalize their thoughts.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Let them speak. Healing happens when we speak.
Yeah, and I think, one of my other, it goes back to more people men that I grew up around, right? DC Clark, right? Who's been a mentor to me, like, since high school and my adult life. When you talk about like being in the community and stuff like that, he had this concept of him and the brothers from I Am.
Okay.
They had this concept. He was one of a lot of the dudes that DC Clark was a firefighter who used his position as a firefighter still, in the profession, to still do what he was doing in the community. So,
Oh, I
you know what I'm saying?
That's
so,
impactful.
Yes. With DC, they had this thing when during a mentoring program. What's in nature, what's in your mind or consciousness, what's in society, right? And it helps you separate and decipher, like, what is your true nature? Like, who are you as a person? Like, who am I as Munch? Like, am I naturally a giving person? Am I naturally a transparent, truthful person? You know what I'm saying? Or I'm a person who gonna, be untrustworthy, sliding on people, doing stuff like that. And then what's in your mind? What's in your conscience? You know what I'm saying? Like, and then what's in society? Like, what's in the world? Like social media, all these different things. And once you start to decipher these things, then you start to rationalize these thoughts. But if you can't rationalize the thoughts that's coming to your mind, because I go therapy every Monday, so I have to rationalize, like, how I'm feeling. Like, if I'm maybe about a year ago, I don't have these thoughts like I used to, but a year ago I used to deal with depression, I used to deal with anxiety, and like the way I deal with it is, first is okay, you feeling this way, identify the way you feeling. But why am I feeling this way?
Yes.
You get what I'm saying? Okay, what is making me feel this way? You know what I'm saying? And so, like, even to this day, it's certain shows that give me anxiety. I'm just being honest. And certain type of gigs that I get just gives me anxiety. And I had to learn, like, all right, you can either run away from them and not do them altogether, or you can identify what it is and go through it. Because sometimes it ain't that bad as you think it is. But if you can't rationalize that thought,
figure out what's triggering you.
You know what I'm saying? Then you'll never get past it. And so I'm thankful. I've been in therapy like maybe 2-3 years, maybe longer. I've been in therapy for a minute. But
I'm in therapy too.
Yeah, like I've been trying to actively deal with my mental health, like at least since like 2015, to be honest with you.
That's beautiful.
So like, yeah, I had some crazy shit going. I don't know if we got enough time. I went to Jackson Mental Health when I was like 21. You know what I'm saying? And it fucked my whole world up.
I remember you telling me about that.
Yeah. And I tell a story simply because I know it's somebody else who done went through some shit. That's the thing about me. Like, I'm always like open. How I tell you before, you get a question, I'm an open book. Like,
every time you say that, and I appreciate it.
Because when I sit up here, like, I'm working with a drug treatment, and I sit up there and have a conversation. Like, I was down there in front of Sisters over there on 17th. And it's right across. I was sitting there talking to them. I say, bro, remember what building used to be here? How long y'all been over here sitting there? I say, y'all remember what building used to be here? Because Jackson Behavioral Health is right there. But behind that building was a building called Highland Pavilion. Highland Pavilion was the building that they had me in. I was in the asylum on the floor.
Wow.
With addicts.
With nothing.
Yeah. So I tell people all the time, like, and they was like, bro, you out here like talking to us, dog. Like, that mean a lot, dog. Like, and I just sat there. I'm like, man, cause somebody need to hear it. Look at me now, my nigga. Like, I'm out here, I'm chilling with y'all. Like, I can sit here, I can chill with y'all, I can talk to y'all. You know what I'm saying? I mean, yeah, man, that was a traumatic experience. You know what I'm saying? I was on some. I used to think I was smoking nothing but a loud pack, but that loud was laced with some coke. You know what I'm saying? The second time I went, this why I don't smoke no more. Second time I went, that shit was laced with some fentanyl. So you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that was like years later. You know what I mean? So I don't. I'm not gonna say I'm completely non-smoker because I be wanting to smoke. I be wanting to relapse, but it then kept me away because it's just like, I don't know.
You just never know.
You just never know. You know what I mean?
You just never know.
But yeah, I've been through it, and so a lot of times I talk to my way of getting over something is to live through it and talk about it.
And that's the part that I appreciate about you, the fact that you are an open book and you're able to share, because sometimes all it takes is for someone else to see themselves in you and see that you're past it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that you have to be some perfect human being or anything like that, but just being able to see yourself in someone, your reflection in someone, and to see like, okay, they made it. Like, I just recorded an episode. Probably come out tomorrow. This one will probably come out next week. And that was one of the things I talked about. Like, hey, y'all, I ain't gonna hold y'all. I'm struggling. And that was just the episode. Like, you're not gonna be okay all the time. And that's okay, as long as you remind yourself that you can get through it. And as long as you're not trying to find permanent solutions for temporary issues.
Yeah.
That's when you're able to really make it. So,
yeah.
Man, Munch, thank you for being here with me today. This is the most random episode.
Yeah, you can't. You like you popped up and you seen I was here. You're like, hey man, we still supposed to do an episode. And I'm like, yeah, whatever.
Yes.
I know how it is, man. I had a podcast at one point in time. You know what I'm saying? I know how it is to book guests, be in that creative space. Anytime somebody asks me, you know what I'm saying? Just to do it, just to show support. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I really appreciate the support, y'all. We're at Code Space, which is where I record my podcast. As soon as I saw him, I was like, hey, you free or not? So I cannot thank you enough. Y'all, he's helped me in so many ways. We're not going to go into all of them right now.
What you talking about, man?
Hey, he done came through for me in the clutch, okay? On the day where I was struggling. So thank you so much, okay? I will... Listen, I owe you one for this, for real, because this is, like, this episode was lit. Exactly, which is why I wanted men on the podcast for this month specifically, because it's one thing for, okay, yeah, you learn about mental health, or yeah, you learn about healing, but it's another thing when you get to see other men who are real men, who are upstanding men in the community, who are also regular people, who, you know, these incredible Black men, because we aren't a monolith.
Yeah, we aren't. And even to the ones who, you know, we may look at as less than, you know, they all going through their thing. That's why I like it. And I think we don't have, I will say this. I know for me, I can't speak for all men in their circles and their cliques and whatnot. But I've always been somewhat of a loner. You know what I mean?
I peeped that. Okay.
In the sense of like, I'm social with a lot of different cliques of people, but I'm my own person. You know what I'm saying?
You're a lone wolf.
So like, shout out to my peoples uptown, right? I hang with all them up there. I got my island crew that I used to hang with in high school. Like, I got different pockets of men that I hung around and cliques of people we hung around. You know, and then I got my day ones, whatever. But I've always been myself, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a struggle in itself, you know, like struggling to be yourself, because a lot of time, and then we don't have, and I say that because we don't have those spaces to really have conversations early on. Like now, certain spaces that I have certain groups of men that we have those spaces to talk. You know what I'm saying? You know, speaking of roots, you know, rest in peace to Danny. You know what I'm saying? Long live Danny. Complete the mission. I'm saying. So with Danny was one of them people that I could pick up the phone with Danny and Zabo. I would send a group text out and be like, I ain't feeling good today. You know what I'm saying? And Danny would pull up. You know what I'm saying? And talk to me. He'd be like, man, what's going on? What's good? You straight? I know. What's in your head? What books you reading now that got you all messed up? Like
that part.
You know what I'm saying? So,
community.
You know what I'm saying? And that was rare. Coming from a situation when I was 21, I went through what I went through and felt like shit. There wasn't nobody there. You know what I mean? My day ones, you know, we cool. You know, we talked about it now. But my day ones they didn't have the, I guess you could say, emotional intelligence to understand or grasp what was going on, you know, because I was always the leader and leading them. So they was like, well, we don't even know what to do because he'll be all right, he's straight. You know what I'm saying? But
even the leader needs to be checked on. We got to check on our strong friends too.
Yeah. And like, I remember, man, it was a process, man. When I got out, I lost damn near all motor skills. I had to learn how to drive all over again. I had to learn how to just be out. You know what I'm saying? Food, like my stomach was messed up. I was like throwing up food left and right. Like it was bad when I went to Jacksonville Health and got out. Like, it was bad. Like they drugged me for like 2 weeks, man. I ain't like this shit. I ain't getting no outside. It was like being in prison, man.
Oh yeah, no.
So they had me on the floor. They said I was a flight risk. Because
so they really monitored you.
Yeah, they said I was a flight risk because they thought I'd jump the barbed wire fence. You know, I was like, y'all crazy. The only reason I tell people all the time, the only reason I got out because I stopped. So like, and by the end of the week, I kind of like ran the whole floor. Like if I said something, ain't nobody can do nothing. You know what I'm saying? You know, just with the food. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm not gonna eat certain food like that big old block of egg or the big old block of cheese. I'm like, I'm not gonna eat this. Give me the fruits and whatever else on this plate y'all want. So we would bust down. So I'm in there being diplomatic with the food, you know what I'm saying? Keeping the peace with the food. They're like, man, this.
Who is he?
Yeah. So, you know, I like I said, I just never had that space, you know, until like Danny, like I got with Danny. And not get me wrong, like we had space, but it wasn't as open. You know what I'm saying? I was in a group before that called the Art Club. And we had conversations about different things, but it wasn't an open dialogue. It was like, all right, you can say your shit one time, but hey, we gonna make this a thing. Like, you know
and that's needed. Even with there's this challenge where men are calling their homeboys and telling their homeboys good night, right? They only telling them good, hey bro, I'm about to lay down. I just want to tell you good night. Now, the men's natural reactions is, hey bro, this is sus. What is wrong with you? All this stuff. But what if your homeboy really just like, hey man, I know you was having a rough day. I just wanted to check on you before I went to sleep. You feel me? Like,
I mean,
because sometimes that is needed for everybody.
That's real needed. It at the same time, that go back to we ain't used to showing that type of
affection.
We just not used to that, and so it takes some time, especially people our generation, like millennials. And,
they like,
But like I said, like it used to be like that. Like if I had when it came to Danny and Zabel, I could say I put in the group text like I ain't feeling good. Like it's a video of Danny before he passed. Like I had one of them days and it was like I'm finna go get Munch.
No,
you know, going to this actual event that night. So he was like, "Nah, I'm coming to get you because I know you're gonna be pooped up in here because you know what I'm saying." So it was just like, you know what I mean. He would always come get me. You know what I'm saying?
That's incredible.
I'd be in the hood like mad as fuck. So I'm going. He would just come get me, like, and be like, "Come to my crib. You gonna be with me tonight. We gonna go out or we gonna stay in, but you gonna be with me." Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so, you know, I you know, you take those things for granted. You know what I'm saying? Was it like not to say I took it absolutely for granted when he was here, but you know, you miss it a lot when you
miss it a lot when it's no longer there.
It's no longer there. You know what I'm saying?
But that's why everybody's always saying complete the mission.
Yeah.
Because now y'all, which is what y'all are already doing, I really want to commend y'all on that. When I tell you, y'all are actually moving it forward and paying it forward in the community, it's a beautiful thing to witness. But I know we're at time, but thank you
all day.
so much. I'm only ending because I got to pick up my jit at 6 o'clock and it's 5:56.
Oh yeah, man. Make sure the jit get picked up, man.
Hey, my love.
We don't want you get fined and shit. You know what I'm saying?
Dog. Hey.
I don't know if you're gonna make it. I don't know how far you get.
Hey, I ain't gonna make it. I'm finna call the band director right now. Like, hey, I'm on my way. It's the weather. If they ask, it's the weather. I'm so sorry.
Hey, do what you gotta do.
Okay, but Munch, for real, I appreciate you.
Yeah, I appreciate you. You know what I'm saying?
For real. So thank you. Thank you all. If you are still locked in with us, which I'm pretty sure you are, thank you so much for tuning in, staying locked in with Munch and I today. Please feel free to check out another episode of Girl, Come Sit With Me. Later.